I think it's a better method if I have one that goes in like that where a predator could track somebody there.
It becomes basically a mini alley, privacy fences,
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
because you can't drive, you can't patrol it.
Yes.
You got some sidewalks like that in Bruce now already. But the sidewalk, the stop.
Over 100 feet long.
Yeah, there's some more back in between. I haven't been down, but I see them coming out.
I know it's alleys.
Those are probably drainage swales.
Really?
Yeah. They go between the lots, yes.
Gary, your comment?
The sidewalk will stop at the northwest corner.
For now, and we probably wouldn't put an actual sidewalk in, we just did the easement at this time. We actually put it in, and we got access to that land. And connected to that.
If we don't build it now, they'll build all the fences over it and it'll get lost.
Okay,
And maintenance in the meantime, even if it is built, you're gonna have two fences and nobody wants to maintain what's in between.
it causes issues, no doubt. Like I said, I'd love to see a pathway, but in a perfect world, it would be ideal.
I agree with you on the surface.
Yeah. But it does get to be a potential,
I see that as a major safety.
What's wrong with going on the east side?
of where the red line is on the east side.
See, you know.
Which would be commercial over there eventually.
Okay,
But here's the building right. It's gonna be this, coming right here. All this is eventually supposed to be out here. Right.
And you recall, we just got award of the bike trail from Parkland all the way across Forest Moor, so we are creating a network up Wakeman Street.
So you just cut it out at the south end of the development, out to the east, and break out the loop.
They're not gonna take that direction. They're gonna still, but they're gonna find a country.
say that again if you would, Rand.
The city was just awarded a tax transportation alternative program sidewalk from Parton Elementary out Newport, and then down with the Waco frontage all the way to the south end of Forest Moor Park.
Okay.
So we are creating a trail system along Waco now, or generally along Waco, with the downsizing of Waco off of the thoroughfare grid, you know, with the bypass.
Okay.
So, I mean,
There is, so to expand upon that, you may not want to say this, but I'll say there is some hope that coming north of Village Parkway, there could be a hike and bike along.
well, there'll be that zone commercial, so there'll be at least a minimum 6-foot sidewalk there.
Okay,
And when that develops, we can discuss expanding that to 10 or 12 foot, like the Charities Path.
yeah. And bring it down to this, there is a sidewalk along Village Parkway that goes out to Highway 5, is that correct?
There are 2 sidewalks, yeah, one on the north side, south side.
And it goes out to Highway 5, Waco, or close to there.
There's,
Yeah, they stop back at the edge of the commercial track, but once that commercial track comes in, we will get the sidewalk along Village Parkway.
Yeah.
It runs basically along the houses at San Carlos. It does side up to the end of those lots.
Yeah,
So really, are you gonna have a sidewalk right in the place now?
Yes.
Yes.
So everything just comes back down to the south and out. And whatever puts up that vacant lot behind all this.
Now remember, at the north end of the existing Georgetown, we have the City owns the 10-acre park area. And it's targeted for soccer, so we could have, the circular pedestrian way around the outside of the proposed ball fields, whatever's gonna end up eventually being.
Where is that?
Just north of the very northern Georgetown track. Can you go back up to the area that is?
I don't think it's not gonna show you.
Yeah.
I think I'm inclined to approve it as presented.
Next time I'll provide a further out aerial also.
Yeah, just north of the top of the map there is that area he's talking about. So you can see the 231627, just above that is the park map.
So we'll work with the developer on that for sure.
I don't think we want a sidewalk though. I think that's.
Yeah, and just one more thing, if you'll go back to the subdivision, where it shows the lot on it. I mean, the only other alternative, and I don't think I want to ask for it, but this able to consider it, it's totally doing away with lot 20 and continue and having a much wider area, which could be drivable. Instead of a cul-de-sac, we would just move the termination of San Carlos north 300 feet roughly in one day connected.
Where is the, on this, is this too small of a, this is too small of a plot to ask for park lanes and stuff, correct?
No, there'll be a parkland fee with this based on the 1.8 acres. So.
They'll pay into the fund.
I'm sorry, Amy.
I said they'll pay into the fund, yeah.
We would choose the cash rather than having to carve off 5% of $7. Anyway, that's an option. I'm not sure I'm going to go there to ask him to give up lot 20 to extend San Carlos development.
Yeah, I think since they meet all our regulations, they really have to be approved.
All right, I make a motion to approve.
Bob has moved to approve the final plat as presented, and that was Gary that seconded it. Is there any further discussion?
I just want it to be made clear what we're approving is as presented with no change.
Yes. So thanks for being here. Thanks for being willing to work with us. But we're going to withdraw our request at this level to put a sidewalk easement through your development. City council may have a different view on it, but that's our position. Okay, hearing no other comments or discussion, it's time to vote on the motion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? That motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. We are moving on to the next topic. Item 5, consider and take any action necessary regarding an ordinance amending Van Alstyne Code of Ordinances, Chapter 32, signs and other advertising. City staff has emailed in our packet a lengthy sign ordinance. Just to be clear, we do have a sign ordinance. This is not a new thing, but it is more detailed, perhaps more consistent use. So anything staff wants to say in support of this at this point?
I worked with the city attorney, and with some ideas that Lane had said that he had heard from people, in the city, some of the things that they liked and didn't like, and kind of looked at some other cities, and then worked with our new attorney based on that new legislation that was passed a few years ago by the Supreme Court for no content-based signage. Because I know it used to be where a lot of cities would have it divided down even to like yard sale signs, garage sale signs, retail, real estate signs, school signs, just every kind of sign. And there's a big case with the Supreme Court and they decided against that. So this was kind of built with, drafted with that in mind and in mind of some of the things I'd heard regarding what you would like to see for limiting of pole signs and different heights and requirements. And so obviously this is a draft and definitely we can make any comments, any recommendations you all want to city council. And then at the end, it'll be the attorney will go through, but the attorney's already been through this. So at least I know that they're okay with the wording in here. Sometimes we want to make edits and they say we can't, but we can still recommend them. But this has already been vetted through the attorney, so that should help some with those questions. I know that there are a couple questions and I emailed out some answers for them. And then regarding flags, this does allow like state and US flag. It's specifically about signs and advertising, which those aren't really necessarily considered signs or advertising, but they're definitely still allowed. So we could add something about that in here for sure.
Okay, yes, apparently some of you took the initiative to review this beforehand and sent comments. And sent comments into Amy, so I appreciate that. You mentioned flags, so I'll bring that up. There appeared to be, to me, that there was a size limitation on flags.
Yes.
The
The size limitation was based on the protocol for the size sign based on the size pole. So it was
I'm
based.
sorry, on flags in particular.
Yes, on flags in
Okay.
particular, or US flags is what I researched. So the size of flag based on the height of the pole. So I looked at the maximum pole height we allowed, and that's where the flag size came from.
That's flag, or if you're gonna have a flagpole in front of your residence, have a United States flag, it would be 5 by 8.
If you had a tall enough pole.
Yes.
We could put some more limitations in there, but this is really just signs. This isn't flat. This is for signs.
Well,
So I don't
flag,
know if flags are really just regular US or state flags are limited by this at all. I don't think this has anything to do with those.
if you read your definition of flags,
Well, this would be on commercial properties, yes.
well, it's residential.
Okay. Sorry.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, if it says residential, I'm sure that's true.
It defines flags, including
A flag
and I have seen
is a piece of paper recorded.
some posts of people trying to limit better than putting a flag, and so.
I have seen some of those as well, not locally, but whether it be neighborhood associations or cities, they get a lot of bad press for telling a homeowner your flag is too large.
And we cannot, from what I understand, we cannot differentiate between a US flag and a flag or other.
Yes.
You're right. I'm sorry. Yes, it does have the residential versus non-residential. If y'all want to change those, you can. If you're going to say in residential, it's not limited, then you're pretty much probably going to have to say, I don't know, the argument could be non-residential, they shouldn't be limited either, but.
I just want to be sure we all are aware of what's in here. I don't think I have any objections to the way it's written. I just want to be sure we know consciously that we are making a decision to limit American and or any other types of flags.
And I would say that most every other city does.
There's a couple of things that I would like to consider on flags.
Okay.
On 14A, if you read it carefully, the first bullet does include United States and Texas flag. Because it says, basically you can have any flag that has a logo, symbol, or taglines. Is the way I'm reading that. Because it says and or name of business, so it doesn't have to be about the business.
Mhm.
But I think it would be safer after the word symbols, put in parentheses, US or Texas flag there, including US or Texas flag, just to make that perfectly clear that we're including those. Not limited it to that, but including.
Does everybody understand that suggested change, just a clarification that yes, in fact, this ordinance impacts Texas flag or the US flag? Hammer and
Otherwise,
sickle, whatever else you may be inclined to fly.
a young enforcement officer might not see that as included, US or Texas flag, so get into the controversy in the future. And then, I'm not sure if under maximum towable area, it wouldn't be safer to go up to like 60 square feet. Would it be,
16.
yeah.
Yeah.
For residential,
I mean, that's up to y'all. I just got the numbers based on,
proportion.
yes.
So you want to just put in.
The whole flag etiquette
Mexican
stuff.
flags includes Texas and US.
Yes,
Right.
okay, that would work too. Just someplace in there, in parentheses, either in the title or under the first bullet.
Okay, because the definition of flags says,
Yes, it does.
yeah. Well, yes, it specifically says nation, state, political subdivision, or organization. Back on the page, there's no page numbers on there. That's another thing we need to add. So you want it, okay, so I'll wait for your motion, but you're thinking about 60 feet residential?
Is everybody, I think that's, if we're gonna let a commercial flag go up to 100 feet,
Yep.
I think, yes.
Commercial, the way it's written, not the flagpole, but the flag itself.
Oh,
100 square feet.
Okay.
And 50 feet tall, and then residential's 30 feet tall. And y'all are suggesting 60 square.
I'm suggesting 60 square feet.
I'm gonna Google size of US flags to see if that,
You know, if it's a standard number. Yeah. You wouldn't want to leave out that one that's 61 and a half square feet.
let's see. US flags, there we go, I got a truck. It would just not be, height of pole, 30 feet, 5 by 8. The next size is a 6 by 10. So the 60 feet would be,
Standard.
Yeah.
For a 35 to 40 foot pole.
yeah. So on a 30 foot pole, there are 60. I'm looking at a chart that says on a 30 foot pole, you can have a 5 by 8 or a 6 by 10.
Okay. Mine, the one I'm looking at says 5 by 8 on 30.
Your chart's just wrong.
I don't think that's a big difference for sure. I mean, I think if you're comfortable with that, then.
I would like to err on the side of more than less.
Yes. You know, even if it's a hammer and sickle, you gotta let it fly.
And if we're through with flags, is there any more discussion on flags?
I think I'm happy with that.
Either 30-foot tall,
30 foot, I think.
flag staff,
It
is the max.
in a residential area.
Yes.
Do does it need to be that tall?
The way the ordinance is written, there is no minimum.
I'm talking about a maximum.
The maximum is stated is 30 feet.
Right.
In this draft.
Okay.
What he's saying.
Does it need to
Make that
stay
shorter.
there? Can we adjust that? Does it need to be that tall?
I just hate to, and we might end up with a skull or crossbones 60 square foot on 30-foot pole, but I hate to limit expression,
Free speech, yeah, on private property.
yes.
They can put an Oklahoma flag on there.
No, I'm just saying,
I'll have to be
30 feet.
Let's limit Oklahoma flags. Yes, Andy.
No, my point is that 30 feet is seems excessive in a residential subdivision.
It's up there.
Two-story house.
That would exceed the height of most roof peaks in most of our residential areas.
Man,
The current, limit on housing is 35 feet, so it's 5 feet below the max, and, you know.
two-story
Most
house
people, yeah, most people got a two-story house.
with a peak roof could hit 35.
There's a lot of things I'd rather limit than you putting up US flags up there.
Well, I'm not trying to limit freedom of expression, I'm just saying,
It's a tall pole.
that's a tall pole, and if you fly a flag at night, unless you put it up and take it down every day, you're supposed to have it light.
Well, there's some light roads.
And with a 20-foot pole suffice, everybody in Georgetown put a 30-foot flagpole in the front yard.
I think it's gonna be a very rare occurrence.
The ordinance goes on to say anything over 20 feet has to be professional contractor that has to be installed. In theory, only a flimsy.
Somebody has to.
So it would be professionally installed small flags there.
Yes.
Why y'all are thinking about that?
I'm using $1,000 check, it's kind of.
And by fund soldiers, you're fine.
Also,
I have one other thing on 12D, and it's just a minor thing. On 12E, it says minimum space between pole signs. On 12E, I'd like to say maximum number of pole signs, because you can have more than one sign on a plat, you cannot have more than one pole sign on a plat.
Yes,
So.
I mean, number 12 is only about pole signs, but we can put pole signs, that's fine.
I think just having the word pole there makes that, it makes it clear on the E, so we might as well make it clear on the B.
Sure.
That's all I have.
Maximum
Maybe
height.
answered all the other questions.
So, I'm sorry, John, you're looking at 12B?
On 12D,
Got it, maximum number of signs.
maximum number of signs to the maximum number of pole signs.
So then, so be consistent with the next one, minimum spacing between pole signs. Yeah.
So if you had a pole sign, you could, in addition, have a monument sign.
Yes,
Say,
you
Yes.
Rigid, that's not clear.
That is,
Okay, I got
you can have 20 different types of signs theoretically on your property. They do have, like a pole sign has to be 60 feet away from any other sign. It has to be 100 feet away from another pole sign.
you. Okay.
Yeah, I found the abundance comes on the walls and windows and all that, so that's good. This one calls even like windows out too, because otherwise people just cover their whole, this should help that.
I'm good with pass that.
I had a question on something we call number 2, banner sign. And I assume that's what I think it is. It is just a banner that you string up on your building and nail it into the wall or the fence or something.
Yes, sir.
It talks about on 2B, maximum total sign area, 35 square feet when attached to light poles, 80 square feet when attached to a building. So I couldn't find a definition on a light pole. Do we mean an actual,
Usually it's just community event signs that are put on the light poles. So sometimes it's done by private entities. Sometimes the high school might, somebody might do it. I mean, we were looking at wording from other cities too. And I know we're in other cities where probably mostly the city is the one that puts up the light pole signs, but sometimes it's not the city. Because they usually just have like these little posts that stick out, and then, different people put them on there. But we can definitely add more information or
I'm
take that
actually
out.
thinking, taking out the word light.
Okay, just,
That's
oh, sure.
That would seem to imply it's gotta be mounted on a light pole. If it's just attached to some other kind of pole,
I think when you can do that, that's a good idea, because you never know technology stuff just never know how things are going to be in the future. What if it's a different kind of,
Yeah.
what if it's it could be a pole that has a traffic light on it. Is that a light pole?
right, or just a telephone pole.
Right, exactly.
Without attached to those.
Because if you have telephone poles, you might put those mounts on there too,
Yeah.
to advertise.
Yeah. Any
Okay,
kind of pole that's stuck in the ground and you use it to string your banners up between them.
yeah, because sometimes people do that, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
They call
Secure typically all the time.
When they're on the building, absolutely, they have to be off four corners.
Yeah.
It says excluding banners located on public school property or to a light pole, so I can just cross off light again. An A third dot bullet. Or put in approved, we could take off light.
Yeah, I was looking at D for light poles, but we may as well strike it on A as well.
And D. If you want to.
Right, yes.
We'll strike all the lights.
word version and do a search.
That's right, light gone.
That's probably the only thing I got. It looks very comprehensive. I'll have to get with our church secretary and change how we do our electronic messaging. Because it says frame duration, that is the frame as if a computer frame, shall not be less than 10 seconds. So you can't flash it up there for 9 seconds and go to the next one. You've got to have your image up there for 10 seconds. And shall occur simultaneously on the entire electronic sign face. Maybe we got to kind of phase in. The background comes in and then the words come in on top of it.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Well, if it's-
Why to do that?
Why they do the fading?
Why would we limit one fading in and out?
I don't know if we're limiting. I guess the fading could be a part of the 10 seconds. I think it's just so things aren't flashing. So typically you only want there to be one thing when a person drives by so they're not distracted. If you're sitting there parked, then of course you might see other stuff. But if you're driving by, they want you not to follow the sign. But I think if it's fading,
Here comes a word, here comes another word.
if it's fading in and out, I think that could be included in the 10 second. But yeah, if it's scrolling nonstop, then that's when people are looking.
Like I said, we'll have to change that, but I think I kind of like the way it's written, because it is kind of a hazard to it.
I think a lot of that came down from TxDOT too, just their experience.
But there is a separate bullet that says frame effect such as flashing shall be prohibited.
Plus we don't need any strokes when people are driving. So.
And the second bullet on that same section, 15C, message transitions shall not be greater than 1 second. That's kind of related to that, right? You can't have an image that slowly fades in.
Right, you don't want,
For the same reason, you don't want that driver saying, I wonder what that's gonna crash.
or there's nothing there. Or yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, it needs to pop up there, stay there for 10 seconds, and then go to the next message.
That's right.
Got it? I think I'm good with that. Okay, back to the size of flagpoles.
Okay.
They need to be square.
I'm okay with the way it's written. I think, I tend to agree. I think there were few that are higher than 20 feet because of the requirement to have a professional install. Open the dialogue.
I'm good with it.
Other comments?
Is the city comfortable with 40-foot pole sign?
Having 70 out of 75.
Yeah, let's we're seeing out there now, the winter sign and the chicken sign and all that, 70 feet. So you're almost got that.
Yeah.
Which I think if you go through McKinney, those are 40 foot.
Yeah.
Except for like your McDonald's and McKinney, because it's, you've got a couple in McKinney that are higher than everybody else's because it's been there.
Sure. They'll stay there forever as long as they can. That's why you see a lot of places like try to use a name. If an old place had a certain letter or something, try to make a name that goes with that, because if it goes away, they lose it. Like what's the burger place? Instead of Whataburger, it's called Whataburger.
That's true. That one's still- Okay, any other comments on the draft sign ordinance? So we got a substantial change on the size of the flag that's allowed, 40 square foot to 60.
I got that.
Proposal, and then some clarifications.
Make a motion to approve it as modified.
A motion to approve the draft ordinance as modified. Is there a second? And if there's a second to the motion, did city staff capture our requested modifications?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we don't need to put those in the motion, if we got those, okay. Any other discussion, comments? All in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? That motion carries unanimously. We're on to the next item on our agenda. Number 6, consider and take any action necessary regarding an ordinance adopting rules and regulations for mobile vendors.
All right.
So we have a draft ordinance that was sent out.
Yes, so the county would still be doing the health inspections. And this is just an extra level that a lot of cities do to maybe get a little bit more clarification. Also, we can charge a fee for it so we can kind of know who's here as opposed to just having them show up from the county. And it also will give us some more teeth for code. I mean, it's a lot easier to say for us to interpret and go by our codes and requirements than have to call the county and say, they're doing this wrong. What do you want us to do? So.
Where our current food vendors set up, mobile food vendors set up, they would no longer be able to use that without significant modifications.
Believe it or not, based on the county's requirements, they're not allowed to be set up like they are either. But the county hasn't done anything about it.
Well, the cement, being on cement,
The county makes you be it could be on gravel too, but they're on grass. The county also requires them to leave when they're not open. The county requires them to go to a commissary. The county requires they have access to a bathroom when they're open. They don't have any of that. And the county just hasn't done anything about it.
why don't we just call the county so we don't take any.
I've tried to talk to them and they won't even return my phone calls.
Right now, they're
This
probably
is
busy.
just to be clear, this is the hibachi place.
Yes, sir.
Well,
I'm sorry.
there have been 3 or 4 other.
There have been others.
What does this do for snow cone?
Well, I mean, I don't know how, this doesn't necessarily have to be, this would still be for snow cone, I guess, because they still get their health permits. They don't have to go back to a commissary though. It's a good question. Usually these exclude like your snow cone. I need to look and see. That's a good question. Because often they're called seasonal vendors or something. It's a different than your typical mobile food vendor. Like the permit they get even from the county is different. They're seasonal.
We're putting 4 or 5 businesses either out of business or majorly changing if we pass this one.
Where does the snow cone people in the town currently go?
Which,
And 2 of them, one just north of the post office from time to time. Also on gravel/grass. And then one over there on the same block is where the hibachi is. It tends to face FM 121.
which
Then Alstyne Park.
I think that area needs to be cleaned up. I mean, signs and trailers and everything else, all of that needs to be cleaned up. I think it needs to be a slow, careful process to do so. And I'm not opposed to passing this. I would like it to be post-dated by
Plenty of notice.
6 months or something like that, for them to be able to come into compliance, because we've had some well-established people there that I think we should give them an opportunity that it's not gonna hit a wall at one time.
I understand what you're saying, but they're already going against the county's regulations. Because I'm gonna be having good discussions with the county, hopefully about the hibachi place, which means any other place that comes in and tries to do it that's not allowed isn't gonna be able to do it, based on them.
So, my other thought, and I was thinking on the same lines as John, an effectivity date of not before July 1st or something like that, and maybe even further out. The other issue is these guys are doing a public service at this time, and our restaurants are being pressured to close. So our timing on this is not ideal. There are a lot of people I would think who are tempted to take advantage of it, drive up, get my food and go home, versus go sit down and eat it.
I don't have a choice here.
Right.
2 or 3 more days.
So I would hate to shut them down in the next 2 months, when we may really need them, but
I'm just worried about the health because they're not meeting the health requirements. I mean, I wouldn't want to go there anyway. I don't know. I'm just like, they're not going to commissaries. They're not cleaning the way they're supposed to be doing.
And I've got no problem with you pointing that out to the county and letting them enforce current county regulations. I think that is a smart thing to do. I just think phasing this in over the next few months, 6 months is a pretty good idea. As John said, give them a chance to come in compliance.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jim. It's really putting more burden on the property owner than the mobile vendor, because if you're a mobile vendor, that means you can set up, go somewhere else.
You can park in a parking lot, a parking space.
Whether it's paved, whether it's gravel, or, whatever the minimum county standards are.
So you can't put in a parking place if it's taking up the parking places and then deliver parking places.
No, but any excessive parking spaces they can go in.
Might be also.
It's funny, the snow cone place that we go to in Frisco parked at the Walgreens like all summer because they had extra parking spots. And then one of them was on an empty lot where they also would have the Christmas trees and pumpkins. It's like pumpkins, Christmas trees, snow cone stand.
I'm inclined to take a listen till we get an answer on the snow cone, what happens with snow cones.
Sounds like,
And
snow cone things consist of cart. Mobile only by a non-motorized means, according to definitions.
okay, where you read?
The definitions, concession cart. The fourth line under the.
Okay, so this does not, does it say what happens to a concessions card?
Definition, it doesn't say if this applies to concession carts.
I don't know off the top of my head. I'm honestly not sure off the top of my head. Concession card. Let's see.
Mobile food.
A mobile phone unit includes a concession card. I mean, you could just exclude snow cone stands if you wanted to, and it could just go by the county stuff. I mean, you could still definitely come back to it.
Seasonal,
Seasonal vendor or,
add that to your definitions and say they're excluded.
I really would think that might be hard to define.
Well, it has snow cones on here.
Who does?
Edible goods shall include, but not limited to. Then you go down to your third bullet, on-site prep food including but not limited to shaved ice, sandwiches, and tacos.
So that's still included.
Yes.
tabling this thing for 3 to 6 months.
Well, I don't know if we need to table it that long, we can set an effectivity. Because if you table it that long, then you've got to give them another 6 months to get it out of the compliance. I mean, we could pass it sooner than that and just put them on notice that as of September 1st, you shall comply with this stuff. The other things that I've seen that bother me, that I think are good in this draft is there's a requirement that they can't hook up to a hose. So they gotta either bring their own water or be tied into the city water line.
Mhm.
Again, it's doable, it's a whole lot cheaper than putting in a concrete parking lot. But it would take them a month or so to get a water tap. And again, as Randy pointed out, it's probably on the property line more than the car.
There is no,
And the other point, I'm sorry, real quick, is just the electrical. I have seen an extension cord that's been buried in the mud, driven over, who knows how frayed it's running all the way across the yard. And it wasn't clear to me here if that meets the requirement or not. Kristen's shaking her head that maybe it doesn't.
There's, as of right now, as long as it's self-contained, they just have to follow the county's rules.
Right.
So
Self-contained.
self-contained means, yes, they have to have a generator and they have to have their own water tanks.
I think the language that was in here says something like in accordance with the city requirement. And that's probably too specific, but.
so that extension cord, you're not supposed to have an extension cord. Well, if they have a generator and an extension cord, is that permissible?
So the whole purpose of this is so that we can enforce it because the county is not. Is that what we're doing with it?
And to add some more stringent guidelines and be able to provide the permit so we know who's here. And then we also get that permit fee. Because most cities charge fees and they can just come here and do whatever they want. Not whatever they want. Well, kind of whatever.
I would be for tabling it for 1 month, get a few answers, and bring it back next month.
Do we have in the zoning code, mobile vendor? Is that something that's required or discussed in the zoning ordinance?
I have not seen anything, and I've looked within the last year.
No.
I know this is kind of something Lane's.
We need to probably table it, since this is an operations and sanitary code, we probably need to get that coordinated with the land use. So that you don't end up with, because part of the sanitation requirements is, if you put the snow cone stand and open that next week, it would look like a peat bog out there, people trying to park on the site and walking through the mud and all that. So
Everyone's further back from that right now, than it is.
Just right through on the way over here. I'm not going to get out of my car.
So if we can get it to where on the land side, where, if you're gonna permit mobile food vendors on your property, here's the minimum standards. It's got to either be paved or paved plus gravel, if someone is not parking on the grass.
So that information's in here.
Yes.
But I think Randy's point is it's not really tied to the zoning ordinance.
Yeah, it's described, but it doesn't.
I don't know how it would be tied to this. I mean, usually it's a standalone ordinance.
I'm probably okay with that.
But it does, I mean, as long as it's something that you could add to the, you could put a definition in the zoning ordinance and you could add it to the land use table, or you could just have it standalone and if you want to make changes to it, you can just do it via this ordinance.
Yeah, I think I kind of like that. I think we could have the zoning ordinance under the definition of C1, C2, have just a statement that says mobile food vendors allowed, maybe by special permit, maybe not, see ordinance number, something like that, just so it's referenced. If somebody's looking through the ordinance saying, looking for something like this, they don't have to know there's a separate ordinance, they'll see a link to it.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of, let's try to summarize our questions. So when we get it back next month, city will have a chance to respond to all of these.
Mine is just seeing more, differentiation between a seasonal, and we're gonna have to define seasonal like as a seasonal food product. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
For temporary, or for special event type of thing.
We definitely have a special event in there. If they get a special event permit, if that's the way you want to go, I mean, they could get a special permit through Lane and then they would be exempt from this.
and that would be the farmer's market, for example?
Yes.
Let me ask, what do they call them, the snow cone trucks, they go to special events and stuff like that, they're, start, yeah, Kona Ice.
Mm-hmm.
You familiar with them? The little vans that go around,
Mm-hmm.
and people hire them for birthday parties, they go to schools, stuff like that. How does that fit in this?
You can get a special event permit.
Okay.
Sure. Just get approval from Lane, really, to be able to, I mean, I'm sure some people don't, but I mean, that would be a way to do it.
Or
But because I know I see
the
them parked.
old-fashioned ice cream truck that comes around, is that, it's livable, so I.
Right. And it just stays somewhere briefly and goes away. I mean, so they have to get it, they have to get, right.
Plays a little song and stops when a kid comes running out before they run over.
I mean, they would logically need one of these permits, but they wouldn't have a site plan. They wouldn't be showing where they're permanently parked because they're just moving around. But that way we could just make sure that we have their information, that we're keeping up with them, that they have their health warrant. I mean, really, they have to show that they went through their inspection, and that's one way for us to know any truck that's going through our city has had their health inspection with the county. Otherwise, they're just driving around.
So the two things to me are the seasonal and them putting a date or an effective date that is, and then that we don't wait for that date to be up before we hand it to people that are on it. And what was it we ran into a year or two ago that it just went into, I don't know, it was when we were building the school, all the ordinances changed.
Oh, for fire suppression?
Right.
Tornado for,
Yes.
it all changed.
That's the international
during the
building
planning
code.
process, and there was no, well, this starts 6 months from now or something, and.
Which international, is that the 2017?
Yeah,
So it's 2017, right? We haven't adopted that yet, right?
yes, ma'am. Oh, the tornado one had, yes, it has. Yeah. Halfway through the school being designed, it was required.
Okay, so it must be the 15 code then, yeah.
Then they kind of backed off.
Yes.
Okay, so effectivity date is one thing we'd like to see,
Okay,
in writing, and then however we want to phrase that seasonal thing. So maybe we're a little less stringent on snow cone shaped ice versus the taco ice.
mm-hmm.
I would like to understand better the electrical requirements. And I can't find it right now, but it's unclear when I read it, whether an extension cord is okay.
It says, I just saw
It
it.
says it has to be self-contained, but it doesn't say that. You can have a generator and not use the generator.
It says
Right.
electricity shall be from a generator or electrical outlet via portable cord that is in conformance with the most current electrical code adopted by the city.
We might put a link on that, the cord may not exceed
Yeah.
10 feet or 20 feet or,
Yeah, gotta be protected in a conduit, maybe. So if you drive over it,
Okay,
it's not getting kinked and frayed.
Yeah. if you have a maximum distance of
Yeah,
20 feet,
yeah,
then it's not going.
okay,
So if you're gonna have it there, you're gonna have electricity close enough.
yeah, if we park pretty close to a building, permanent structure. It just wasn't clear to me that what I saw as this issue, that
mm-hmm,
I've seen in the past over there, where the cord is getting driven over, and
sure.
I was afraid sparks were gonna fly any minute.
Mhm.
I thought that was prohibited.
I fully believe that this needs to be done, and it's a disgrace what we have right now. But there's gonna be a huge public outcry if they're shut down.
Especially the trade guys, but any of them really. I immigrated politically, it could be an issue, especially in the near term.
Yeah,
Well, I think if anything happens, it'll be because of the county at this point. Because if the county was really going through the rules, the shaved ice wouldn't be where it is anyways.
And if the county comes around and decides that, that's on them.
I think it'd be fantastic for the county.
All right, well, I'll
They
keep on
probably got
them.
higher priorities right now. Yeah. Anybody else have anything they would like to see clarified before next meeting?
I don't think it has to be in this, but when this passes, I think somebody needs to go around with this and get it signed and dated that each of those places has it in their hand with that date on it, that it's gonna start being enforced, and they can't say, well, they came up to us at the last second.
Send them a certified.
Except you don't have any information on where to send it to.
Oh, no, the county, you can go to the county's health regulations. It shows mobile vendors and all that are registered and that are out of, like, they're probably not 100% accurate, but you can go there and find them. But yes,
They are registered, or you think
they have to be registered with the county.
they have to be on gravel too.
Yeah.
So the other avenue is to also include the landowners in that. Whoever the registered landowner is, if they're part of the donut shop, we need to notify them too, because they need to know.
So this is that after it's been adopted?
Yes.
Okay,
After it's been adopted, before it goes into effect,
all right.
we feel like it would be good to give them fair warning.
Yeah, it doesn't. The donut shop might spend $100,000 to pave it and fix it up and stuff to, and charge that back to us.
Kind of enhance the value of the property, should they ever be in terms of return and stuff. Are we comfortable with the idea that it does need to be on concrete? Given our emphasis on concrete, I don't know how else we can, I think it would cause lots of trouble if we just, these guys can have gravel, but
Nobody else can?
yeah, nobody else can. So do we collect sales tax off this if they in fact registered or operated in our city?
I believe so.
I would think even if they're only here for a week, they should in theory,
Yes,
That right now,
but we're not. So it's another incentive to.
exactly. No, I believe so, yes. Because I know that question came up when I was in Frisco and they put that park there, yes.
So just for clarification, does the current zoning ordinance have standards for mobile food vendors?
No, no, sir. Just
So
the,
shouldn't
just the
that At some
county.
point be amended or changed?
I think that's what we were saying.
I mean, this includes language about zoning, but then we could also put it into the zoning ordinance.
Yeah, because, again, it's ultimately it's a land use issue. The mobile food vendor has no land use rights.
Right, it says,
He or she just doesn't comply with the standards.
it says non-residential. I think the county might say non-residential too. They might already said both. This definitely says non-residential, the county might. We can even make it more specific. But I mean, because you said C1 and C2, but if you wanted to allow industrial parks to, you know, that's a place a lot of cities have seen kind of food truck parks pop up in some industrial areas too, so.
Well, again, it seems that if you're putting a burden on the property, then that needs to be spelled out in the zoning ordinance.
Yeah, and our zoning ordinance currently has, my best example is what we talked about earlier, is the sign ordinance. That's not included in the zoning ordinance, the zoning ordinance is references that. It says in C1, in C2, and in one, you can have a sign that's allowed, go over the sign ordinance to see.
Right.
Maybe we could do the same thing here, it says mobile food vendors establishments are allowed in the zoning classifications, and then put a link into this. I think that'd be helpful with Eddie's point, so the homeowner.
Yeah, they would just be coordinated. The two.
Well, yeah, they'll have to have the signature. I think they have to have the signature of the landowners and everything. But I guess like you just want to, it sounds like you just want to table it to the next meeting.
I think so.
I think the table, the mobile vendor item to the next meeting.
A motion to table this, I'm sorry, postpone action until our next regular schedule. So, a motion and a second to postpone action on mobile vendors for the next meeting. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, it's time to vote. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? That motion carries unanimously. 5-0, and my ordinance, my agenda is lost in all my paperwork here. I think we're on the city staff reports. Thank you. Item 7, staff report. Who would like to start? I'll let you
All right. Okay, so just a brief overview of some of the development projects. The Texana retail where the Domino's is going, I'm sure you've noticed the framing and roofing is up. Mantua, I've heard it pronounced so many different ways. The paving should start this month and it should take roughly 100 days. A lot of that time is really spent in laying it out and designing it more than just the paving, obviously. The paving won't take 100 days, but I think that we're anticipating the first building permit July, August. Of course, that depends on the weather and maybe everything else. But they turned in their phase 2 preliminary plat. And then next month, we're anticipating their phase 3 civil plans, or next month, not next week, next month, right? Civil plans. I think I wrote week, I don't know why I wrote week. Oak Brook phase 2, the utilities should be going in the next couple of weeks. So at this time they have their water line, which will eventually connect to United Ag and Turf. They have their water line in, so they're waiting for Oak Brook 2 to finish theirs, and then they'll connect into that. Farm Bureau, you saw the parking lot was in, and they're putting up their wood fence, which I believe was a special condition they had for their project. The Graywood phase 3, we have our phase 3C. We have a meeting tomorrow to discuss with them. That's about I think 108 lots is what Lynn told me. And then the municipal.
They're responsible for cleaning that area. Yes. It's pretty trash right now.
We can talk to them tomorrow. Of course. The municipal building project, I know we were supposed to have an internal meeting on next Tuesday night, the 24th, but now it's either going to be a PowerPoint presentation or a video presentation to discuss. So once we have that, I guess we'll get into the next steps and we'll let you know what's going on. But just to let you know that our next meeting is supposed to be next week. So we'll either be getting a PowerPoint presentation or something from them to what they've gathered because they interviewed kind of in person and on paper staff and what we thought our needs were for staffing and space and all that kind of stuff. So they're going to be putting some stuff together. So that will be coming up soon.
And that is WRA?
Yes, sir.
Presentation?
Yes.
Excellent.
Let's see. Oh, I know last time you all were asking about the ordinance 857 that passed at the end of last year about the single home modular amendments, like what our new attorney thinks about that ordinance. I think everything's fine except for the masonry requirement. So all those, we can still do masonry standards. We can have minimum masonry standards through a development agreement and then also through annexation. Annexation's a lot easier because we can just put it in their service plan. You know, you have your police fire, we can put that, the attorney said we can put that in there too, the building masonry requirements.
Let me be sure I understand that. So the attorney says if we were to annex a new subdivision, for example, we could put requirements in there somehow that they build the masonry
We can put in their service agreement.
and the service agreement.
The service plan, I guess is what it's officially called. That's a part of the annex. You have your annexation and then your service plan that accompanies it, yes.
The idea being masonry is less susceptible to fire spreading.
Sure,
Our
yes.
services might not be as high as they would if we were building straw and hay.
Because it specifically says ordinance, you can't be through ordinances, you know, so that's a way, even though, I mean, so that's a part of an annexation agreement. So that's one way to do it, just like a development agreement. So I think the only, if you look at it, the only kind of odd thing that stands out now that's really odd, but that, because of that, our minimum lot widths are pretty wide, you know, so now the patio home minimum lot width, oh my gosh, I can't believe it, is 60 feet.
Yes, ma'am.
So, I mean, if we want to go back and amend this in the near future,
So we did that to say that, well, if you play by our rules, we can reduce that down to, I forget if it was 45 feet.
it's 15 less, yes, but we can't,
We can't do that.
right. So that we can't do, but the minimums are now been changed to all 15 feet wider. So if you want to do something with that, maybe put in some more design guidelines, some more anything. I mean, we do some research about any kind of architectural stuff that other cities have done or that our attorney feels comfortable with. And we can definitely look at that.
We are certainly open to alternative solutions.
Good.
I think we would like to continue to incentivize developers and builders to use masonry.
Yes, but at the very least now you're looking at wider lots, and there's usually a lot of those often are the more higher end builders who are going to do that anyway. So I mean, I don't think it's
You might not want to change. Well, in my opinion, also we need to, like patio homes, we need to put the brakes on for a while anyway.
well, yeah, if it says 60 feet at a time, it's going to do one anyway. So yes.
Yeah.
Unless they do a big PD and they have 10% of those or something, you know.
I don't know that I would, on patio homes, I don't change it right now because we've got a square for our patio homes anyway.
Sure. I mean, we can just look into alternatives. And I know that's one thing that we talked about. We wanted to look into some things that some topics you might want to discuss in the future. I've written down stricter development restrictions for commercial specifically, including more detail, more landscaping, wider setbacks to provide more trees and trails adjacent to the roads, design standards for downtown, and then like some of these design standards for residential. And then also I went to this planning mini conference last month, and it was actually Salina did, since they're growing so fast too, and their comp plan was old. I think they've redone their comp plan, but one thing they do is they do a strategic plan. They do a 2-year strategic plan, but I thought you could even do a 2, 4, or even 5. So it's like a mini comp plan. It's still something that is decided by P&Z makes recommendation to council, but it might be a good jumping off point, especially since our comp plan is old and it can be done by staff. We don't need to hire somebody else. So I was going to maybe send y'all an example specifically in Salina and see if I can find other cities that have done similar things, because Lane liked it, but I just wanted to mention that tonight too.
I think that's a great alternative to spending $250,000 and taking 12 months to do something.
I know, because
Out of date when we publish.
we can just adopt the newest thoroughfare plan. I mean, some of those parts we can just update pretty easily, and some of the stuff that would take so much money. We just had that downtown plan done. We can adopt that. I mean, we can incorporate a lot of that stuff that we already have and then try to do what we can ourselves. It's hard to know what you're going to do 20 years from now.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
Okay, any questions from
We were gonna start at this meeting, setting up some future dates to do some of this extra.
Mhm.
And talk about like, where in this, all, what you just mentioned, and the master plan, and when all this needs to be, what order it needs to be done,
Mm-hmm.
which I don't think we need to be having more than one meeting a month for the next couple of months with the conditions,
Well, y'all could definitely send me your
but
itemized list, I mean, like your list in order of what you find important.
I would like to get a recommendation from you and then us react to your
Okay.
recommendation. Is that?
Yes, sir.
And I can surely do that via
Yes.
email. It doesn't have to be anything we decide right here, right now. Absolutely.
We could put together a plan, I think John suggested put some dates on it, except we'd like to spend this time period, and at the end of it, we'll have.
I know, I've been,
Next decided and ready for the council next meeting.
yeah, sounds good. And we can probably strategic plan. Y'all could decide what kind of timeline you like. You can look at this one and see if there's other things you want to do. And that might, hopefully that'll address a lot of this stuff, at least quickly at the large scale. And then we can get more fine tuned.
I think it's important to take those, to break it down into smaller
Yes.
steps, otherwise the inertia just keeps us from pushing forward. It's
like-
like huge.
It's like my dad always said, you eat an elephant one bite at a time.
Okay. Anything else for me? And anything you want to add on?
She's got, the only two things she didn't talk about were Brooks Apartments.
Okay.
And they're proceeding on their utilities, they should be going forward, and then we kicked off, we had the pre-construction meeting this morning towards the power contract on the west side. So they will start heavy utilities in the next, as soon as it dries out.
Okay.
So they've been moving dirt for a while, they've done moving dirt, and it's time to start building some of it.
And they're all approved for phase one with the final plat.
Phase one is 160 lots, so, yeah, and then what you talk about, phase three, remember you approved the preliminary plat eventually. Phase three, we're anticipating that you will see their final plat next month with the civil plans back.
That's larger ones.
No, this is the small lots, this is the 45. This is the one that you've already approved.
Oh, okay. It's not back to two.
Yeah, well, I think that's 2 months off. They have submitted phase two, which is now their third phase, which is north of the existing along Cartwright.
Yes, sir.
So there's 180 lots on that, and most of them are 65 foot lots. So there's only, I think there's only 20 of the 180, I think there's only 20, 45 foot lots.
Okay.
So they are going into the bigger section. But you'll see that next month. The following month, we'll see the final plat, phase three, the civils, and then probably a month or two back, you see phase two, final plat.
True value is screaming up to the.
True value is coming along.
Sign up.
Great.
Didn't I talk to you? I
And
didn't.
we're all over showing for some
Forgot.
Okay, any questions for me? Kristen, anything that you want to add? Thank you.
Commercial development, particularly the Jones Drive.
No, not yet. I talked to the broker of the land this morning. I've got him working on bringing a big box grocery. He didn't have any direct connection to it.
Does it sound like COVID-19 is making an impact on you this year? Not
COVID-19.
having a negative impact on this?
That's all down construction at this point.
I think I think the residential, I mean, at least right now, I think it won't affect it as much, of course, maybe in the long run, this affects jobs and stuff, it might.
Lennar just shut down production.
Oh, Lennar shut down production?
MI's talking about it.
Oh, just for do you not have people in contact with each other?
Corporate shut down, everything.
Wow.
Wow, I just saw the president of K-Hop, CEO, interviewed on national TV just like 3 days ago. And he said, we're going great, everything's Yeah,
That's what they do.
Please vote.
yeah, yeah. Huh, okay.
We're gonna be working remotely starting Friday.
Thank you for putting up with us that long. Everybody stays healthy. Any other business for the good of the cause?
Motion to adjourn.
Got a motion, is there a second? Got a motion and a second, all in favor, please say aye. Aye, we stand adjourned. So some point in the future, it should be adjourned. I won't commit to it.
Are you sure you want to end? You didn't ask me that earlier.